What's going on, family? I'm Scrapbook Boxing, Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuff series. I'm going to be talking about some of the greatest trainers in all of boxing. I won't have time to mention all of them, so if I leave some out, doesn't mean they don't represent my appreciation of them. I'm also going to continue my conversation with you on a city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And the reason why I have Marvelous Marvin Hagler's photo is because he represents everything that it takes to be a Philadelphia fighter. So let's talk about my favorite trainer of all times, Harry Wiley Sr. Began boxing through the YMCA boxing program. And Harry Wiley Sr. had a gym, the Salem Crescent Club. And in that gym, he had successful fighters. Now, he would also come down to Billy Grubb's boxing gym on 116th Street. Harry Wiley Sr. would work with fighters such as Gil Turner, who was actually from Philadelphia, Mario Mina, Rocky Castellani, Doug Jones, Tony Anthony, Ray Robinson, Louis Spider Valentine, Canada Lee, Bunny Grant, Sammy Mendel, Lou Ambers, Danny Cox, many other fighters. Harry Wiley Sr. had wrapped the hands of Sam Langford, who was a water boy for Jack Dempsey. But unfortunately for Harry Wiley Sr., he would be standing behind an ice truck because Harry Wiley Sr. used to carry blocks of ice. He would carry him up flights of steps because at that time you didn't have elevators. And he would take a strap it around the ice cube. Oh, that ice cube could weigh as heavy as 50 pounds or so. And he would throw it over his shoulder, wrap his left hand behind his right hand with the strap, and he would kind of hold it in place. Well, as he was pulling out a block of ice, taxi cab would run into him from behind, crushing his legs. And he was a very good amateur fighter, but he couldn't continue his career. So he would begin coaching. And he was the head coach of the National AAU Championships. The first trainer to train and coach the National Championship in every weight division. He was the first black trainer to lead the Olympic boxing team in 1932. The Los Angeles Games. Now, he didn't get a chance to complete his mission because of racial and disrespect that he would never tolerate. And he would speak up in behalf of the fighters that were on that team. The black fighters on that team did not get the proper milk, proper food, nor the proper living quarters. Walked into an office and laid it all out on the table. He was told, "Don't you ever come in my office. Tell me what the hell to do. As a matter of fact, you can get the hell on out of here." And he was fired. And that was the worst thing that could have happened to that team. However, 5 medals were brought back. 3 gold. Actually, 2 gold and 3 bronze. Let me correct that. It was 2 gold and 3 bronze. And the thing is, I give Harry Wiley credit, full credit, for those medals being brought back. And I believe had he been on the team completely throughout, 5 medals would have been brought back. That's just my personal opinion. Now, the thing with Harry Wiley Sr., he worked with some great, outstanding fighters, such as Baby Joe Gans, Canada Lee, Henry Armstrong, Lou Ambers, Muhammad Ali, the great Sugar Ray Robinson. When you take a look at Jack Blackburn, 1900 to 1923, he would represent himself in the ring. He stood 5 foot, 6 inches. He was a light and welterweight. And he was in the ring with fighters such as Kid Norfolk, Lou Burrell, Sam Langford 6 times, Panama Joe Gans, the Old Master, Joe Grimm, Dave Holly, Mike Twin Sullivan, Harry Greb, Jack Twin Sullivan. Just to name a few. He was a trainer for Charles Bud Taylor, Lou Ambers. Lou Ambers would become a lightweight champion. Sammy Mendel, George Godfrey would become a colored heavyweight champion. Joe Louis from 1934 to 1942 before he passed away in Chicago. Joe Louis was a 25 title defense, 12-year champion. Charles Bud Taylor was a champion, as well as Sammy Mendel. Joe Louis was champion from 1937 to 1949. Jersey Joe Walcott, Lou Ambers. All these men were champions. Emmanuel Stewart was 94-3 as an amateur. Won a bantamweight Golden Gloves. He was a trainer for the Motor City Cobra. Thomas the Hitman Hearns and Hilma Kenty. Those 2 men meant so much to Emmanuel Stewart that they represented the name Motor City Cobra. Ernesto Espana, Anthony Jones, Lennox the Lion Lewis, Jerry McLennan, Milt McCory, Michael Moore, Jimmy Paul, Dwayne Thomas, Gaby Canizales, John David Jackson, Evander the Real Deal Holyfield, Mark Breland, and many, many more. Steve McCory, you name them, Emmanuel Stewart would train them. Now, at one point in time, he would train Roy Jones and Julio Cesar Chavez and Prince Nassim Hamed, the Klitschko brothers, Andy Lee, Andrew Murray, Welcome Nikita, Aaron Pryor, Tony Tucker, Leon Spinks, David Braxton, Miguel Cotto, Oscar De La Hoya, Nassim Hamed, Chad Dawson, Vivian Harris, Eddie Mustafa Muhammad. He was the head trainer for the 1984 Olympic team. Fascinating trainer was Emmanuel Stewart. Bowie Fischer. He was an amateur and professionals. in the 1940s. He was first a co-trainer for Bobby Green, who was a featherweight contender. He was given a bandana from Sugar Ray Robinson, and he would never remove that bandana from his presence. He worked with Jeff Chandler and Ivan Robinson, Bernard the Executioner Hopkins. Now, Bernard Hopkins would win the USBA and the NBA and the IBO World Middleweight Championship titles in 2002. 1995, would own the IBF, WBC, WBA, and the WBO Middleweight Championship straps. WBC, IBF, WBA Light Heavyweight Championship straps. Roy Jones, Felix Trinidad, Oscar De La Hoya, Sean Pascal, Chad Dawson, Jermaine Taylor, Tavares Cloud would be some opponents for Bernard Hopkins. And Bowie Fischer deserves full credit for those wins. Now, you talk about some great fighters. I gotta give Sweet Georgie Benton, the mayor of Philadelphia, an honorable mention. Is a great fighter, but he was a more impressive trainer than he was a fighter. May 15th, 1933, North Philadelphia. September 19th, 2011, North Philadelphia was when he would pass away. He stood 5 foot 10 inches. He was a middleweight, ranked number 1 for 3 years. Fought from 1949 to 1970. Had a total bout career of 75 fights, 61 wins, 13 losses, 36 knockouts. And he was stopped twice in his career. Defeated Bobby Boyd and Joey Giardello, Rudolph Bent and Jimmy Ellis, Alan Thomas, Ernest Buford, Reuben Hurricane Carter, Bad Benny Briscoe, Charlie Joseph, Henry Hank, Holly Mims, just a few of his opponents. He was a trainer for main events. He would train Joe Frazier, 1975-1976. Second George Foreman fight. And a third Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier fight, Thriller Manila. Johnny Bump City Bumpus, Rocky Lockridge, Willie the Worm Monroe, Alex Ramos, Leon Spinks, 1978 when he took on Muhammad Ali, Leo Rudolph, Melchick TNT Taylor, Pernell Swoopy Whitaker, Jimmy Young, Evander the Real Deal Holyfield, Randall Tex Cobb, Oliver McCall, and Michael Moore. Slim Jim Robinson, September 9th, 1930, South Philadelphia. November 5th, 2004, he would pass away. 74 years of age at the time of his passing. And he would resign in South Philadelphia. He was a professional with 21 wins, 10 losses, 15 knockouts. He stood 6 foot 2 inches. He was a light heavyweight. And he was a trainer for Milo Savage, Ricky Parkey, Eddie Mustafa Muhammad, Mike Rossman, Tim Witherspoon, Zuma Nelson, Alfonso Ratliff. And what was interesting, he also trained Milo Savage, as well as Von Clay. Roger Mayweather, another outstanding trainer. As a fighter, he was 72 total bouts, 59 wins, 35 knockouts, 13 losses, and he was stopped 6 times. He was known as the Mexican Assassin and the Black Mamba. He was a trainer, 2000-2013. His amateur star, 84-6 was his record. 1993-1996, he would win every title from super featherweight to super welterweight. 1981, 12-round loss to Costa Zoo. 1999, 10-round win. Eduardo Montes. Be in the ring with Livingston Bramble, Vinny Pantianja, Julio Cesar Chavez twice. Another very good trainer was James Buddy McGirt. His name was Mr. Magoo. From Brentwood, Long Island. His trainer was Al Cerdo, and he would end his career with a record of 80 total bouts, 73 wins, 48 knockouts, 6 losses, and he'd be stopped twice himself. He stood 5'6" and he had a 70-inch reach. He was an amateur with a record of 54 wins with 9 losses. Began boxing at the age of 8 in the kid gloves. John Condors would run those gloves in Madison Square Garden. He was introduced into the New Jersey Boxing Hall of Fame, the International Boxing Hall of Fame. He would defeat Sal Manby, Livingston Bramble, Simon Brown, Frankie Warren, Joe Manley, be in the ring with Pernell Swoopy Whitaker, and Meldrick TNT Taylor. Now he would train Paul Spadafora, Matthew Macklin, Paulie Malignaggi, Antonio Tarver, Arturo Gatti, Vernon Forrest, Nate Campbell, Joe Casamayor, Lemon Brewster, Michael Grant, Hasim Rockman. Robert Garcia, 1992-2001. He had a record of 37 total bouts, 34 wins, 3 losses, and 25 knockouts. He won the IBF and the NABF Super Featherweight Championship. He was a trainer for Javier Garcia, Miguel Angel Garcia, that's Mikey Garcia, Jose Carlos Ramirez, Nonito Donaire, Marcos Madonna, Antonio Margarito, Brandon Rios, Kelly Pavic, Abner Mares. Pretty decent fighter, but a very good and impressive trainer was Robert Garcia. Archie Moore, the old Mongoose, fought from 1935 to 1963. Stood 5'11". He was a light heavyweight as well as a middleweight. Had a total bout career of 220 bouts, 186 wins, 132 knockouts, 23 losses, and he was stopped 7 times. He had 132 knockouts, 186 wins. Very impressive. Now he lost to Charlie Burley, Ezra Charles, Harold Johnson, Rocky Marciano, Muhammad Ali, Floyd Patterson. He would defeat Carl Bobo Olsen, Yvonne Durrell, Alabama Kid, Harold Johnson, Oakland Billy Smith, Jimmy Bivens, Clarence Henry, Joey Maxim, Charlie Doc Williams, Jack Chase. Be in the corner of George Foreman. And Archie Moore would also be in the ring with Big Boy and Shorty Hughes, Holman Williams, Lloyd Marshall, Coco Kid, Curtis the Hatchet Man Shepherd, Eddie Booker, Little Tiger Aaron Wade. At the end of his career, he would take on Muhammad Ali. Moore in 4 would settle the score. Another trainer would be Eddie Futch. At 21, world champions. Paul Andrews, Alexis Arguello, Maurice Blocker, Bobby Chacon, Big Boy Brown, Bruce Curry. You know, when you look at the record of some of these trainers, it is impressive to say the least. They would also train fighters such as Lester Felton, Joe Frazier, Jimmy Edgar, Riddick Bowe, Patrick Ford, Paul Andrews. He sparred with fighters such as Charlie Burley, Holman Williams, Joe Louis, Harry Bobo. He would also train fighters such as Marlon Starling, Michael Spinks, Mike McCallum, Billy Sweet Pea Peacock, Marvin Campbell, Montel Griffin, Eddie Jones, Dwayne Bobbitt, Roscoe Tallis, Bob Foster, Virgil Hill, James the Heat Kitchen, and Kid Norton, as well as Charlie Powell, who played for the San Francisco 49ers. Hedgeman Lewis. You also had a trainer who was a very good light heavyweight by the name of Willie Reddish. Willie Reddish, 1933 to 1944. He was born November 12, 1912. He was in Philadelphia. Outstanding fighter who stood 6 feet, a light heavyweight. Being in the ring with Wallace Cross and Bob Smith, Curtis the Hatchet Man Shepard, Elmer Valiant Ray, Phil Johnson, Lynn Franklin, Lee Q. Murray, Roscoe Tallis, Tiger Jack Fox, Eddie Blunt, Jack Trammell, Jersey Joe Walcott. He trained Toothpick Brown, Gil Turner, Curtis Parker, Sugar Hart, Meldrick T&T Taylor. He died in 1988. He was 75 years of age at the time of his death. I had the pleasure of meeting Willie Reddish, Archie Moore, Eddie Futch, Georgie Benton, Slim Jim Robinson. Many of the men that I mentioned so far. Now let's talk about Philadelphia. Philadelphia had 44 world champions, 86 clubs, arenas, ballparks, and stadiums, over 30 gyms and institutions. The Blue Horizon, Philadelphia Spectrum, Municipal Stadium, the Arena Athletic Club. And Philadelphia Spectrum was on Broad Street and Patterson Avenue. Opened October 17, 1967. Joe Frazier versus Tony Doyle was the first bout there. Between 1967 and 1972, you would have 15 cards. They were held by promoter Herman Taylor. Madison Square Garden attendance, 8,404 seats in that arena. Emil Griffith would defeat Gypsy Joe Harris. The promoter was Herman Taylor. Madison Square Garden. Attendance was 13,875. August 6, 1968. Kitten Haywood would defeat Emil Griffith in 10 rounds. That was their first fight. Promoter was Lou Lacassis. Attendance was 4,375 spectators. October 29, 1968. Chuck Leslie would defeat Roger Russell in 10 rounds. The attendance was 4,892 spectators. November 18, 1968. Smoking Joe Frazier would defeat Oscar Bonavena in their second fight in 15 rounds. Promoter was Lou Lacassia. December 10th, 1968. The attendance was 8,000 spectators. 1978, Matthew Saad Muhammad and Yaki Lopez would be at the Philadelphia Spectrum. Matthew Saad Muhammad would take on Richard Cates. Marvelous Marvin Hagler, Bad Benny Briscoe. 1977, Matthew Saad Muhammad Marvin Johnson. Roberto Duran versus Edward Viruet. Now, I had the pleasure of being at the Mati Saad Muhammad, Jackie Lopez, Mati Saad Muhammad, Richard Cates, and Marvelous Marvin Hagler and Bad Benny Briscoe fight at the Philadelphia Spectrum. It took place in 1978. And what was most impressive to me about the fight with Benny Briscoe and Marvin Hagler was that after the fight, Marvin Hagler would call out Ronnie Harris. Ronnie Harris was the 1968 Olympian. He would win the gold medal. And he wanted to smoke with Ronnie Harris. He said he had a big mouth. Oh. As a young boy, watching that was amazing because Ronnie Harris was in the second row. Oh. Boggles the mind when I think about it. And I'm sitting right there in the second row watching this go on as a young boy. Now, South Philly venues. New Alabama, Swanson and Richmond Street. Alabama, Jimmy Topic Jr., the movie theater. Morrison 12th Street, 1959 to 1962. They had 10 shows at that arena. 1960, Kitten Haywood's first loss to Georgie Benton, Georgie Giardello, and Wolfie Greaves. The Spectrum, Patterson Avenue and Broad Street. Municipal Stadium was on Patterson Avenue and Broad Street. The Toppy Stadium was on Broad Street and Packer Avenue. Olympia Athletic Club was on Broad Street and Bainbridge Avenue. National Athletic Club on Catherine Street and 11th Avenue. Now, Gene Tunney versus Jack Dempsey, September 23rd, 1926, South Philadelphia. The attendance was 120,757 spectators. It's for the World Heavyweight Championships belt. Kid Gavilan versus Gil Turner, July 7th, 1952, Municipal Stadium. The attendance was 39,025 spectators. It's for the World Welterweight Championship belt. Joe Louis versus Al Latour, September 22nd, 1932. The attendance was 40,407 spectators. Rocky Marciano versus Joe Walcott, Municipal Stadium, September 23rd, 1952. The attendance was 40,379 spectators. Bob Montgomery versus Ike Williams, their second fight, August 4th, 1947. The attendance was 30,501 spectators. It took place at the Municipal Stadium. Bob Montgomery, Ike Williams, their first fight, January 25th, 1944. The attendance was 14,807 spectators. The fight took place at the Convention Hall. Henry Armstrong versus Al Tribune, March 22nd, 1943, at the Convention Hall. The attendance was 12,633 spectators. I'm going to end this video and pick up on the next video, part 2. Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. Scrapbook Boxing, Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. All great fights and all great fighters will never be forgotten on my channel.